Morning guys, coming to you from Squamish, British Columbia, Canada, and just want to make a quick video this morning talking about this idea of digital leave no trace. It's something that's very close to my heart and something that I've thought long and hard about, and I'm a little pissed off this morning because yet another comment on one of my videos about if I'm not going to tell people where stuff is, then don't bother posting a video at all. And it really upset me because I just felt like the entitled nature of this person is completely missing the point of what I'm trying to accomplish with my videos. And I think they miss the fact that if I occasionally give some locations away, they think that they are entitled to know every single location I go to every single time. And I replied by saying, you know, there's an old saying, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a meal. If you teach a man how to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Unless you're vegan like myself and you realize the oceans are being overfished and the planet is dying, in which case you don't eat fish at all. Anyway, that's besides the point. Digital leave no trace is an idea where people want to keep wild places wild, don't geotag places, don't give locations away because people think that the masses come, they destroy them, and it ruins it for everybody else. And I will say, I agree with that. However, it's a much more complicated issue than that when you factor in that our public lands do not receive enough funding. And as populations grow and as populations spread out and enjoy nature more often, these public lands need more funding. So you rarely talk about the fact that our national forests, national parks, and these wild places are underfunded, understaffed. They don't have enforcement in place to even check to see if you have the proper wilderness permits to begin with. So I think that any discussion talking about a digital leave no trace movement has to address the underfunding of public lands. They need trash pickup. They need a waste bin. If an area is becoming popular, you need to adjust the services that that area is receiving. Otherwise, unfortunately, you're going to get masses of people shitting in the bushes unless you install some sort of toilet facilities. But I think the real issue that's fundamentally missed when talking about digital leave no trace is that the planet is changing so rapidly, and I see it all the time. I'll go to a place and a year later or 2 years later, that place will get wiped out by floods, wildfires. Opal Creek is a perfect example. Opal Creek, Oregon, used to be a tremendous swimming area, some of the densest old growth forest in Oregon, and it got wiped out a couple years back by a forest fire. Another place that I can think of off the top of my head is the tunnels. There's this place in Canada, I can't remember what it's called now, but there were the old railway tunnels. They got wiped out by floods like a year after we went there, and things just aren't the same. So as seas are rising, wildfires are spreading, floods are destroying environments, it makes me wonder, like, okay, so why not encourage people to enjoy these places while they can, because they may not be there much longer. So it's kind of this weird push and pull that I feel between not giving locations away and wanting to share beautiful locations, because who knows how long before it's wiped out by a wildfire or a flood or some sort of other natural disaster. Another factor that contributes to this kind of myth is that social media is ruining these wild places. You'll often see it on the news or like front page headlines on an online newspaper. And unfortunately, there's just no evidence. I mean, I see articles all the time saying that, oh, so these kids died because they were jumping off this cliff or they were doing something dangerous just because they wanted to post it to social media, even though there's not always evidence that they were just trying to post it on social media. And it's important to remember that social media is what TV was to radio back in the day, and radio was to newspapers. You know, the newspapers rallied against the radios, and when TV came out, the radio stations were battling TV, saying the TV's the devil and all this stuff. And anytime something new comes up, the old establishment legacy media in this case is going to rage and say, this is the problem right here. It's social media contributing to the downfall of our wild places, of our natural beauty. And unfortunately for them, there's just not a tremendous amount of evidence. We hear anecdotal evidence of that. But again, like I said, the criminal injustice is that these wild places are underfunded. So when you see a place getting popular on social media, really the correct response to that is that more funding should be put in place to accommodate these people. A lot of times people will say things like, if more people come, that contributes automatically to the destruction of that place. And my response often is, well, why won't all of those people, or a good portion of those people, realize how beautiful nature is and want to protect it? Why won't they join the Sierra Club? Why won't they donate to green causes? Why won't they realize that we need to protect our planet? And I think the more people we can expose to beautiful natural places, the more we can encourage them and show them, this is what we're fighting for, this is what we're protecting. I hate elitism in all of its forms, and so when a certain group of cool people try to keep a public area to themselves, that really irritates me. Nowadays, however, you have these people saying, oh, don't gatekeep places and stuff like that, and I think that when someone feels entitled to know where everything is, and they feel like you should just tell them, that's annoying. Like, no, you have to earn some stuff. You know, you can't just be told everything and spoon-fed everything. At the same time, just because you grew up in an area near some cool public land where there's some awesome waterfalls that you think should be hidden for just you and your friends, I don't agree with that either. So when it comes to digital leave no trace, as some of you may have found by watching this channel, I try to strike a balance. Sometimes I'll tell you some spots, sometimes I won't. But when I get comments like this, it makes me want to say, I'm never going to give another location away, ever. Because the whole point of this is for you to find stuff on your own. I want to encourage you to find stuff on your own, because the journey is in, because the adventure is in the journey, not the destination. Some rambling thoughts from a bald man on a beautiful morning here in BC. Get out there, find your adventure, and be infamous.